Welcome back, Squatchers. That's right. We're back here at the Squatchers Lounge podcast. It is Wednesday after Memorial Day. That's right. The 29th of May, 2019. Man, almost halfway through the year already. I figured tonight was the night. We've been talking about tracks all year. Tonight we're going to learn how to cast them ourselves. That's right. If you've never cast an animal track in your life, well, you're going to have a good idea how to get away with it tonight. I got a quasi rewind, but a brand new camping tips for stupids, along with a Bigfoot campfire story to wrap it all up. So it's going to be a fun and interesting and entertaining and informative, for once, night. That's right. Right here on the Squatchers Lounge podcast. I am your host, the Reverend Jeff Kelly. We're coming to you live here from North California, and let's get a little newsy tonight. That's right. We got a little bit of news to talk about. I thought this one was kind of interesting. Of course, Mr. Dean, our Cooper, our quasi-scientist, he posts most of these things in the Squatchers Lounge, so you can find them there throughout the week. Captive chimpanzees spontaneously use tools to excavate underground food. That's right. Chimpanzees in the wild have been known to use sticks and leaves and other things to get ants out of ant piles, but apparently these chimpanzees in captivity can suddenly work out how to use tools to excavate underground food, even if they've never been presented with the underground food scenario before. According to a study published May 15th, 2019, the Open Access Journal. Good God, yeah. Recent studies have indicated that wild chimpanzees and bearded capuchins are capable of using tools to excavate underground food such as plant roots, corms, and tubers. Overturning earlier hypothesis, this type of tool was use was unique to humans and their ancient hominid ancestors. Well, where do you think they learned it from, people? The authors studied tool use and a selection in captive chimps to further understand how the food excavation behavior may have developed. Yep, chimpanzees, the bonobos are known as lion killers. They've been known to make sharp sticks and go hunt down and kill animals. So, yeah, why wouldn't they be able to use sticks to get roots out of the ground? I'm not sure. The Lacey Museum is hosting Sasquatch Revealed, a traveling exhibit. That's right. The Lacey Museum invites the community to the Sasquatch Revealed opening day event on May 31st at 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Lacey City Hall Council Chambers. The opening day event includes guest speakers at City Hall, plus guided tours, door prizes, and a Sasquatch mask making activity at the Lacey Museum. That's right. They will host the Sasquatch Revealed traveling exhibit, courtesy of Canadian Sasquatch expert Christopher Murphy. That's right. Murphy's exhibit is the largest collection of Bigfoot-related artifacts and artwork ever assembled. So there you have it, people, over at the Lacey Museum. Too bad they didn't mention what city it was. I guess, is it Lacey, Washington? I don't know. Maybe. You would think. So, yeah, if you're near where this Lacey Museum is, go and check it out. Man reports seeing 7 to 8 foot tall creature walking across the rural road in Georgia. That's right. This one came out. Gilmer County, Georgia. That's right. A 51-year-old man says he saw a 7 to 8 foot tall creature standing along a mountain highway in Georgia Monday, leading to the talk of legendary Bigfoot being on the loose in the rich mountain wilderness area. Details are posted this week on the Expedition Bigfoot Facebook page, operated by Bigfoot researcher and Bigfoot Museum operator David Becker. The incident reportedly happened about 8:30 p.m. along State Highway 515 in Cherry Long, which is between the town of Elijah and Blue Ridge. Packer told the Charlotte Observer it was still light out, and the driver braked when he saw that what he described was a very tall, 7 to 8 foot tall, hairy, two-legged creature with a pointed head. He pulled over, skidding on the gravel, and waited on the backside of a small patch of woods, thinking it would emerge on the other side. It never did. Edward Lee, the man who gave the testimony, says he fears being ridiculed over the incident, but he told the Charlotte Observer that he does believe he saw Bigfoot on his way home Monday night. So you can check this one out. The WBTV website, WBTV.com. That's right. Website reports Bigfoot seen last month near Yelm. That's right. The Pacific Northwest is a hub of reported Bigfoot activity. Yes, I know that I am using the ad blocker. Please. God. A website called Washington Bigfoot has it. A person submitted a comment on April 23rd. I saw Bigfoot on Bald Hills Road in Yelm, Washington at 11 p.m. It was just over 6 foot tall, hair on its body about 4 inches long, the witness said. Orangutan, long arms, orange glowing eyes. This is a true story. Scared the crap out of me. Thought I'd share my experience with you. Well, the website then reached out to this witness, and they discussed how the witness was on their way home from work when they came around a corner and a dip in the road to see the furry biped on the side of the road. It paused and turned, and they neared. With 4 inches of hair all over and orange eyes, permeating the area was the creature's skunk-like odor, which the website states is not an uncommon experience to have when seeing Bigfoot. Is that because one shats themselves, or is that because the Bigfoot shat himself? Not really sure, but I can attest that stink is something that stinks. Well, apparently, we're not going to know what happens to this one, because I don't even remember what it is. And that handsome young fella is all they're going to tell us. So we'll move right along. Don't forget about Reverend Jeff's Cryptic Corner and Paranormal Escapades on Patreon. That's right. $1 general admission gets you into all of the content that is up there for patrons only. If you like what we do here at the show, consider tossing us a buck here and there, and we'll make things just for you guys. Also, Operation Pie Pie is just over the hill now. I mean, we're talking like 14 days away now. June 12th to the 16th. I still have 2 spots available. I had somebody drop out with their partner, but we still have 2 spots available. So if you guys want to get in, I could probably squeeze a third, maybe. Not really sure. We'll see. But if you got 2 or 3 people that you want to come out for the camp out, get a hold of me here on YouTube, on Facebook. Send me an email to sloungepodcast@gmail.com, and I can get you into the Operation Pie Pie Valley. Night operations, daytime operations, all kind of operations. It's going to be a lot of fishing and Bigfooty fun for everybody. All right. And that, as they say, is the news. Yeah, I got to get over here and stop this one and not that one so I don't stop the show. Look at that. I haven't done that in a long time. It's been a couple of seasons since I've started all that screwed up. All right, folks. Well, there you have it. That, as they say, is that. And it is the news. Hey, this is the part of the show where we get a chance to listen to my man, the Quasi Theory of the Week. That's right, Mr. Dean Cooper. As soon as I can figure out which one of these buttons leads me. There it is. All right. We're going to flash back 2 years ago to the junk room. And now, Quasi Theories from a Quasi Scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
The junk room. Back in the mid-1960s, my family lived in a house that we knew was haunted. It was an old farmhouse in the middle of town, built sometime before 1900. There were 2 floors, a basement, and an attic. There were 5 of us siblings. 3 of us slept in first-floor rooms. The second floor had 2 bedrooms, one large, where one of my brothers and I slept, and a very small one, which we called the junk room. There were 5 of us siblings, and we never threw out any toys. They were kept in the junk room. When indoors, we frequently played in the large bedroom. We occasionally heard footsteps in the attic at night, pacing from one end of the house to the other. We would then rapidly adjourn down the stairs to the living room where our parents would declare us to be, and I quote, nuts. This happened a number of times. We lost count of the total. One day we were ordered to clean up the junk room and sort all the toys into new cardboard boxes. I say new boxes, but they were obtained from the alley behind the main street stores. The cleanup was accomplished rapidly, which was understandable if you knew our mother. The room was very tidy. Our mother was pleased. Here's a side note on the junk room. It was always cooler than the rest of the house, except for the basement. We could not go into the junk room at night alone. The closet was terrifying. Its door would not stay closed, but would never swing open while anybody was in the room. The junk room door had a separate lock on the outside of the door. It appeared to be original to the house. We kids kept that door locked when we were not in the room. We often wondered why that door needed a lock on the outside. One night, a few days after cleaning the room up, my older brother and my sister were playing sorry in the large bedroom. They suddenly came screaming down the stairs into the living room, claiming that somebody was in the junk room, apparently trashing the room. My dad grabbed a baseball bat and went up the stairs with the rest of the family a reasonable distance behind. The junk room door was still locked. He opened it, turned the light on, and declared that, and I quote, "You two kids are full of shit. There's no one in here and the windows are closed and locked." He continued, "Weren't you kids supposed to clean this place up? We got you new boxes." The room was trashed. Toys were everywhere but not broken. The boxes were empty and half ruined. The closet door was ominously open. Our mother did not say a word in our defense. She said she did not believe in ghosts. A good 20 years later, she admitted that she thought the house was haunted too. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydean.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
Yeah, nothing like mom letting you hang out to dry. That's right. No, I don't believe in ghosts. Well, that's okay, because ghosts believe in you. And speaking of things that believe in you, it's a Memorial Day episode of Camping Tips for Stupids from the mind of Jevin Moore and the Gone Camping channel. So check it out. Oop. Yeah, you're going to be mad here if I don't do that. There we go.
Camping Tips for Stupids. Tip number 80. Your style of camping can be summed up by the kind of gear you bring. Some people are afraid of nature, so they bring things like mosquito nets and hard-shell campers or RVs with the words safety space stamped on the side. And then there are some of us who just don't give a fuck. Sleep on the ground, eat the mosquitoes, piss downhill, and carry a good quality camp knife. There are tons and tons of knives on the market that are purpose-built for bushcrafting and hunting. But what I'm going to talk about with you today is a knife that's considered a camping classic, especially if you're a veteran. The K-Bar Mark II USMC fighting knife is the most iconic and famous knife in the whole world. That world being America. Coming in at 9 inches long, 1095 Crovan steel blade, oval stacked leather disc handle, this baby retails for around $60 to $115.99. It even comes with a decent quality leather sheath, but you can get the Kydex version too. That's right. Shop sharp. Shop K-Bar sharp. Got that? Now, this was a bush knife before people started making bushcrafting knives, and it still holds up to this day. The blade is remarkably thick in the spine, a drop point that can easily be modified to a sharpened edge, and is out of the box sharp, but can take a finer edge if you want it. With a tongue-style tang, the knife can endure more stress than other outdoor knives of its day. Leather disc sack handle will absorb more vibration and impact shock than a wood scale handle. It's a camp classic that you just need to collect. There's even a civilian market version called the Dog's Head, and a smaller USN version that you can give to your kids so they can go kill a bar too. This has been Camping Tips for Stupids. Remember to spay and neuter your idiot population.
That's right. Don't forget to spay and neuter your idiot population. That's where we are at tonight. We are down with it. The K-bar. That's right. The K-bar is an incredible piece of history as well as an incredible blade, but please be careful. They'll go through the side of a barn. All right, let's kick this out here. I'm looking for one in particular here, and that's not it. There's the one I'm looking for. All right, we're talking about, we've been talking all year so far about plaster casts and track casts and where they've been found and what they look like and what makes a good cast, a generation 1 cast, a generation 2 cast, a generation 3 cast, but nothing beats the original cast. The original cast is going to have all of the detail in it. So it's probably smart to learn how to do this before it's important. When you find yourself a Bigfoot track, you kind of want to be versed in exactly how to put this kind of stuff together. And the way to do that is to actually go out and find some decent tracks and cast them yourself. Now, on the market, there are a bunch of different stuff out there, depending upon what it is you're casting, how big of an impression you are trying to cast, will determine how much material, what type of material, how much water, and how long it's going to take to cure. But we're getting ahead of ourselves just a little bit. So you're out there walking along the trail and you see a muddy puddle, and right next to the muddy puddle there is this beautiful canine track. It's what they have here at the top of this page, this beautiful canine track. And you think to yourself, gee, that would make a really neat thing to take back with me from my camping trip. How could I preserve that? Well, first you have to be prepared on your camping trip. And that's where simple old plaster of Paris will do the trick. Maybe. Okay. If you find the doggy print on day 1 and you're there for a 3-day trip, plaster of Paris is probably your right choice. However, if you're only going to be out there for a day and you find it early in the morning, you're probably going to want to go with something that they call like Hydrocal. Now, Hydrocal is a little bit more expensive of a product than plaster of Paris. However, it will cure faster. And that's one of the considerations of how long are you going to be able to let that track sit there with your casting material in it to set up. The longer you can let it set up in the natural environment in the track, the better the track is going to look. So you need casting material, whether it's going to be plaster of Paris or whether it's going to be Hydrocal, or there's a dental powder that you can get, amalgamite. You can get that stuff pretty cheaply for £1 at a time. Instead of carrying around like a 5-pound box of plaster of Paris, because most of us are backpackers, hikers and things like that, we don't want to carry a whole extra lot of weight with us. Ideally, what you'd want to do would be to break down like 1 pound or 1.5 pounds of the casting material itself and put it in a gallon-size freezer bag. Make sure that it is a freezer bag, because freezer bags don't have air vents and they don't leak. So you put the plaster of Paris or you put the Hydrocal, whatever your casting material is going to be, ahead of time. Go ahead and put it in the gallon freezer bag, wrap it up, put a piece of masking tape, not duct tape, masking tape around it so that it will hold it in place. and put it in your pack. So now you've got a pound or a pound and a half of casting material in your pack that you're out there on the trails with. The next thing you're going to want is some water. Your regular drinking water will do. Some water out of the creek nearby will do. It doesn't really matter where the water comes from. It can be contaminated water. It's really not going to make that much of a difference as long as there isn't a whole bunch of jagged material in it. You don't want a bunch of algae in it. You don't want that kind of stuff in it. So pour it through a bandana, pour it through a simple filter. Just use water. And the idea of the mix is, some people argue with this. The idea of it is a loose pancake batter. So, like, you take the pancake batter. It's not when you first make it, because when you first make pancake batter, it isn't quite right. It's like when you let the pancake batter set up a little bit and kind of gets thicker. That's the consistency that you're looking for. It doesn't matter which material you're using, whether it's the plaster of Paris or the hydrocal or the agamite. You want that stuff to be kind of liquidy in the bag and easily moved around. If you happen to have another small baggie with you, even a sandwich baggie at that point, it will do. Ideally, what you do is you use that big gallon size bag then like a cake pipe. Okay, so you can cut the very corner of it off, and you can actually use that bag to slowly squeeze in that casting material into the track. Now, you want to make sure that the track is... There's two trains of thought here. There's a train of thought of clearing the track, and then there's a train of thought of not clearing the track. If you can tell that there's something on top of the track that was not there when the track was made, that has blown into the track afterwards, I remove that stuff. I take any excess leaves that aren't pressed down into the track by the animal itself. I remove that stuff. I kind of blow the track out just a little bit to make sure that any dust that may have settled into the truck will kind of be displaced as well. And then I get the most liquidy part of what's in that baggie down into the corner of it first. And then I clip the corner of it off, and I put that part into the bottom of the track first. So it's a little tiny bit looser than the rest of it. It's fine. Because what that'll do then is that'll actually settle into the detail marks of the cast. Now, if your track is really, really thin, if it's really shallow in the ground, it's obviously not going to make for a great track to begin with. But that's where these little barriers that you're seeing here on the screen with a little circle with the paper clip around it would be a piece of plastic, a piece of thin cardboard. You can even frame it with sticks in the ground as long as you don't disturb the original impression. And the idea of that is to give the casting material somewhere to lay and create a frame around the track itself so that you can lift it out all at one time together. If the track is deep enough, usually you can pour it over it and it will have a natural frame around it. But if it's a shallower type thing, that's where those frames come in nice. And you can do that with a piece of thin plastic, and a paper clip will do just fine. Like I said, you can do it with sticks. You can dig an impression into the ground and allow the plaster material to settle in that way. That too will create a frame around it. But ideally, you want to layer that stuff in there very, very slowly. And what I'll do is I'll actually, before I collect this stuff around, I'll look for some smaller dry twigs. Usually I used to, and it's hard to find them anymore, but I used to take pieces of metal clothes hangers and I'd cut those into like 2 to 3 inch lengths. And I would take those pieces of clothes hanger, and as I would lay a layer of plaster in there or lay a layer of casting material in there, let that set for a couple of minutes so it's got a little bit of a bounce to it. Then I would just lay that, either the stick or the piece of metal coat hanger, into places to kind of give it a little bit more structure. And then lay another layer of plaster over top of that. Depending on how deep the track is, the more you may need to do that. The deeper the track is, chicken wire would be okay if you could lay it over the very top of it. It would give it some structure. You want to lay it so that the plaster sets up around it, obviously. But then you've got to have that kind of stuff prepared with you when you bring it along. And that's why I say, even dry sticks that are off to the side are best used. Soggy sticks will kind of contaminate your plaster a little bit and just kind of get slimy and then disintegrate inside. But a dry stick will actually stay dry after the plaster will set up inside of it. So there you are. You've got your gallon plastic bag with, a pound or a pound and a half of casting material on it, depending on how big the tracks are that you're looking for, and some water. And you've got it mixed together into the pancake syrup. And, we get the very loosest of it down to the corner, and we snip off the corner of the bag and we pipe it into the bottom of it. And we've got a little bit of structure and maybe some twigs, or some metal pieces in there that'll kind of allow it to set up around those things to create some structure for it. The next problem becomes patience. You really, really, really have to find some patience. You want to take and make sure that the track is finally leveled off, that all parts inside of it are actually done. And then you'll actually be able to wait. You want to cover it up, with a box, cover it up with anything you can. You kind of want to make a tent over it so that it will work. Keep any type of contaminants from falling in it, to keep any rain that may fall off of it after that. So let's take a quick break there now that we have basic casting techniques down, and we'll talk about some other scenarios here in just a moment. But it is time to give shout outs to the hangout. That's right. We're going to say hi to all those people that are hanging out live tonight in the Squatchers Lounge podcast hangout. That's right, chat room. Hello there. Of course, Mr. Dean Cooper, the man with the blue tool. He's got his eyes on you. He's squatching you. He's absolutely squatching you, Mr. Dean Cooper. And there is Bella Maria Allegria. Hello there, young lady. Mr. Shane Barber, the cryptid monster. He's hanging out with us tonight. Hello there, sir. Natalie Smith, how you doing? I hope you're feeling good. I really do. Hope you're recovering well. Forrest Cop, there he is. Hey, my name's Forrest Cop. People like to call me Forrest Cop. Is your name Forrest Cop? Is that what you do? Actually, I know that's what he does, but I'm just being a jackass at this point. Let's see here. Who else is hanging out with us tonight? There's Mr. Rod Dupree. He's always in the place to be. That's right. The Reverend Matthew Gaines. Hello there. Congratulations to your son graduating the other day. I saw that. Thought it was absolutely fantastic. That dude's got a glorious beard. And he's graduating high school. I love that kind of stuff. Ginn. Oh, there it is. Greetings back at you there, buddy. Mr. Ginn is in the house. Let's see here. Don Ripe is in the house. There he is, the giant Viking himself. Dun, 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 dun. That's right. Pie is coming up soon. I can't wait. Big Fred, the 1980s Death Trike is ready to go. I just got to finish the trailer, and we will be ready to zoom. There, Mr. Keith Harden. Hello there. Robert Fago, hey, how you doing there, champ? Glad you are with us as well. There's Collier Wilmus, Reno. How you doing there, bro? Josu Salazar, hello, back at you there, sir. Glad you are with us as well. I see Obsidian Radio has checked in. I see Molly and Timmy and Barry and Sue. Tenko, hello there. I'm actually learning how to tenkara fish on this trip. That's right. We are going to do some trout fishing and are going to tear it up. Hello there, Mr. Spike Jeff. I'm going back to my roots. We're going cane pole fishing. Can you imagine that? It's actually reelless fly fishing. And we're going to take some video of it and have it on the channel. We'll see how that all works out. Jeremy Crotier. Hello there, sir. Mr. Frenchman. Are you related to Jacques Cousteau? Croture. I think that's how you would pronounce that. I used to be fluent in French. I can't speak a damn lick of it now. I know all the curse words. Hey, there's Gone Camping, Mr. Jevin. He's checking in with us. There you go, sir. All right, we're moving on up. to the east side. Could you imagine that? ABC and live of a live in front of a live audience, studio audiences. They chose literally the two most racist TV shows ever put on television: The Jeffersons and Archie Bunker. I couldn't believe it. I just really, those are what you bring back. Mysterious Journals by Dee Dee. Hello there. Glad you are back to see us as well. Bobby Jenkins. Hello there. Fix my playlist. I don't know what you mean, sir. Let's see. Where else are we hiding here? Keith Harden. If I haven't said hi to you, I have now. Timothy McCune. How you doing there, Tim? Glad you're back with us live tonight as well. Let's see here. I know there's more people. There he is, Drew, the California picking man himself. He's hanging out with us. Hello, Drew. Brown Dwarf. There he is. The man, the myth, the legend. We're waiting for old Danny Boy because he's going to be going camping with us as well this month. They're coming up from the LA area. Can't wait to meet him as well. I think we are at the bottom of it. If I haven't said hi to you, got to make sure we say hi to Christopher tonight. That's right. It is his birthday. Hello, Christopher. You don't have to eat your vegetables on your birthday, dude. You can straight up eat whatever it is that you want to eat today because it is your birthday. My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. That's right. I did go there. All right, everybody. We are going back to it now. Back to this track casting thing. Okay, so, what are the considerations you have to think about when you're casting the track? So, has it been raining? Did it rain in that track before you're wanting to cast it? I mean, if it's a wolf track or a deer track or something that's common, do you really want to try and cast a rain-filled track? Well, it depends on whether you're trying to hone your skills or whether you're trying to have a cool wall hanger. If you're trying to have a cool wall hanger, I would look for something else to cast. If you're trying to hone your skills, well, then you have to consider, how do you get that water out of the track? Well, there's some schools of thought on that, and most of them come down to how sketchy can you be? No, a straw. Packing a straw, especially a big long straw in your kit, in your tracking kit, is probably a good idea. You can blow the water out of it, out of the cast, out of the track. Some people they'll tell you, take a stick in the back of it and dig out a little pool and then dig a small trench up to the track and let the water drain away. That's another school of thought. You can do it that way. It takes forever to try and get stuff to naturally drain away that way. Blowing the water out of it isn't really going to displace anything. That would be a track that would be in some kind of a harder substrate, like dirt that's just been rained on. Now mud's a completely different thing because mud, you really don't have a choice to use plaster repairs because it's really never ever going to set up. You literally have to move on to something like hydrocal or the augment. Simply because it's just the nature of plaster repairs. The more water you add to it, the more runny it's going to become. And if your track is literally sitting in mud and full of water, it's never going to dry up that way. Some people have been known to actually mix like the hydrocal right into the track itself until it solidifies to a point and starts to set up, and then they pour more in on top of it to complete the track. But you're never going to get any detail to it that way. To get any detail in the bottom of that track, like dermal ridges, examples of hair movement or anything like that, you're really going to have something thin in the bottom of that track to set up first so that it's thin enough to actually roll into the detail and get picked up. That's why most of the tracks that you'll see like Jimmy Choco's talking about, the guys, the dermal ridges this and the dermal patterns that, they're all talking about the sides of the track, especially deeper tracks. And that's where that kind of stuff gets left. Seeing it on the bottom of the track itself is a very difficult thing because that's where most of the pressure gets left, not really leaving a conducive area to put a lot of detail into it. So with mud, that's the thing is, can you protect it, get the water out of it, and let the mud set up a little bit? Then you can cast it a little bit better. But of course, you don't want to let the mud get too dried out, because then it cracks and your plaster runs through it and you lose the totalness of what that track actually was. Sand is a tricky thing, because you're never really gonna, sand is never really a great representation of a track. I lived in Florida, and I tracked these things through the Ocala National Forest for about 10 years, and never once did I actually see a convincible track that made me think that anything left it. And I mean, from deer to pigs to Bigfoot to to alligators. If it was in the sand, especially in the softer, sugary type sand, it was an impression in the crud, is all it really was. It took some kind of a better substrate than that. But you can cast in sand. What's going to end up happening, though, is you're going to end up with all that extra sand left on the outside of your cast that you're going to have to try and somehow clean off later on. Now, that's the next kind of step that we need to talk about, but let's get through the other substrates as well. Snow. People say, oh, you can't cast in snow because, there's a heat process that goes on with the plaster and you just can't do it. Well, that's not actually true, because the police actually do it all of the time. They sell a spray wax that will actually isolate your impression in the snow from whatever chemical you're pouring into it. It's not that bad. It's like $19 for a spray can of it. It's not a fortune. You're not going to be out there spraying 50 tracks down through the woods and casting all of that anyhow. But the other thing you have to consider in snow tracks is, what is the temperature now versus what was the temperature when it was left, and what type of snow is it in? The colder it is outside, you people that live in the snowy areas know, the more crystallized the snow becomes, the more powder it becomes, the more likely it is not to hold any kind of detail to it. Nor is it likely to hold together when you pour in some type of a casting material on top of it. And then with the heat index that gets done through the curing process, you're most likely just going to end up with a slob of nothing. You can take a spritz bottle on very fine spritz and spray that track. Now, if it's below 31 degrees outside, if you wait long enough, that track will actually freeze in place. Once it's frozen in place, then it's usually safe enough for you to pour the plaster, or not the plaster, but the hydrocal in it, and allow it to set up and dry. But remember, the cure process is going to be everything. The longer you can let it cure in place, the better of a track and the more detail of the track it's actually going to give you. So that's the most important part of all of it, is that curing process itself. The last thing to really consider is, okay, well, all right, so I've now made this cast. I got it in the ground. It's cured up for a couple of days. We're ready to go home, and I want to take it with me, of course. What do I do? Well, I certainly would not just grab a hold of it and pull it up out of the ground. That wouldn't be what I would do. I would probably take, and carefully dig around and under the cast, taking as much as the original substrate with me as I can, put it into a box, and then take that box and let it sit on the porch for a week. Let it sit somewhere dry, somewhere cool, and just let it finish curing all the way. And that can take up to 7 days for that to finally finish curing before I would then go after it like a dinosaur bone. Like a dinosaur fossil. I would literally go after it with small tools and small soft brushes and brush away all the dirt and the contaminants that are behind it and let it reveal itself. I certainly would not use any kind of water on it. The longer you let it cure, the more the dirt and stuff is going to brush away from it in the end, and you'll be left with a really nice cast of whatever it was you were trying to take. And that's really all there is to it. It's a matter of being prepared, and it's a matter of being patient. As long as you're prepared with the right types of supplies, some water. They're showing a mixed cup, but a gallon freeze bag does just fine, and your casting material, you'll really be set to do what you need to do. Practice makes perfect. Make tracks, make a bunch of them, give them to your kids, give them away to people. People love stuff like that. I don't know why, but they do. It's kind of cool. So this particular track casting procedure is on bear-tracker.com. It was done by Kim A. Cabrera. I want to make sure that they get credit for it because it's actually a pretty decent walkthrough on how to do it. So bear-tracker.com/plastertrucks.html, and that will get you directly into it. There's the Mr. Sam Squanch Rivera. He finally checked in with us tonight as well. And there is the Squatch Box. I knew she was lurking out there somewhere. So with that, everybody, that is going to wrap it up on Track Casting 101 for the evening. I do have a Bigfoot campfire story for you guys to enjoy. So, man gets chased by Bigfoot and they return to their camp to find this. Thanks for being here tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you. And may the Squatch be with you. What the hell is that? I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that was a Bigfoot. Let me tell you a story. Well, this story I heard on a canoe trip through the George Washington National Forest in Virginia. We had tied off for the second night and set up camp. Just before dusk, another canoe with two locals joined us. While talking around the fire, I asked that usual question. Have you ever seen a Bigfoot out here? Let's hear their story. Well, Tim and I have been coming up here all our lives. We usually come up and fish the river for a few days as the seasons change. Well, here 3 years ago during our spring trip, we had something happen that we'd never told anyone before. The first day we got dropped off by my dad. We put in at the North Drop location. The day was kind of foggy at 6 a.m. and it looked like it was going to rain on us, but that never stopped us before. So we went ahead and loaded up our gear and got into the canoe and said our goodbyes, and Dad watched us as we paddled off down the river. The morning was kind of crappy, but the first good fishing spot was a couple of hours paddle downstream, so we just took to the task. We finished drifting along most of the day and put about an hour in before dark for camp. Well, we camped right by the riverside. We hung up a tarp and just unrolled a couple of bedrolls and slept right out at the edge of the tree line for the night. Not much really went on. About halfway through the night, we both woke up to what sounded like an air siren raid going off almost. 4 times, then 5, then stopped, and everything around us kind of went silent. I'd have to say, in all the years we'd been coming up here, we'd heard some weird things at night, but nothing like this. Neither of us went back to sleep that night. And the next morning, while cooking breakfast, we heard voices on the other side of the river. So afterwards, we paddled over to talk to them before pushing on. We asked if they had heard the calls the night before, and the woman said they were so scared that they were getting off the river and going home because the calls came from right behind their camp. Something was grunting and growling at them from the bushes for hours. We talked to them for a few more minutes, and Tim and I finally decided we'd push on. And we paddled on downstream for quite a while. We noticed that there weren't too many people to be found. Kind of unusual for this time of year, but it was a little bit on the rainy side. We caught a few fish on the way downstream, and we went ahead and cleaned them up to eat for dinner. And again, we pushed on in just about an hour before dark to set up camp. Only this time, we camped on the opposite side of the river, the same side that the screams had come from the night before. We tied up the canoe, got a camp set up, started a fire to cook the fish on. The night had fallen fast, and the moon was about half full and on the rise when we heard the first weird howl, almost like a monkey in a zoo. We called out to see if humans would reply, but instead we just got a really loud wood knock, like somebody banged on the side of a tree with a branch. Well, I'd walked down to the river's edge to clean up a little bit, and that's when I noticed a set of weird-looking footprints along the bank. Well, I laid my boot up next to one of them, and it was far bigger than my size 12 Triple E. So I called over to Tim to bring the big spotlight, and he quickly caught up. We followed the tracks up the bank as they turned into the wood line, and that's when we heard another strange whoop sound coming from back towards camp. So we turned around quickly and made our way back. When we got back to camp, everything had been messed with. Our packs, the fish was gone, even Tim's bedroll was missing. So we tore off into the woods looking for anyone that had been there. Nothing is exactly what we found once again. Well, we turned back towards camp, and that's when we saw it. Big hairy creature sitting up in the tree just staring down at us. Well, it was bigger than any man I'd ever seen before, covered in hair, eyes just as dark as you can imagine. Well, when Tim finally lit the thing up with the big spotlight, it shaded its eyes, jumped down from the tree, and it tore off into the night, just crashing through the branches until we couldn't hear it anymore. Well, the night went dead quiet after that. We made our way back to the campsite and boosted up the fire just as raging as we could make it, and we sat quietly trying to figure out what to do next. Well, as the night went on, we went ahead and gathered up and packed up things that we could find. We were just waiting for first light to push off down the river. Pickup some point was still 6 hours away. And as soon as it was light enough on the river, that's exactly what we did. Well, Tim and I talked about it the rest of the trip down the river, and we decided, well, we'd keep it between us until someone asked about it. And now here you are, the first to hear our story. Two men with a lifetime of river experience found themselves face to face with a Bigfoot in a tree and lived to tell the story some 15 years later. Thanks for listening. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you.